Hey guys, welcome back to Zonix channel. You are watching HLMS, one of the most detailed Gundam lore series. Today, we are giving some love to one of the abandoned series, Gundam X. Since Gundam X has a lot of battle records, so I try my best to minimize the length of the battle records, but it might be still very long. Anyways, is the moon out yet? Well, here comes the satellite cannon. Before we start this video, make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell next to it. Grab some snacks and drinks, turn on your subtitles and enjoy. During some time in the pre-AW era, the UNE and Space Revolution Army have officially declared war. Both factions have relied on new types heavily and developed their own new type use MS to turn the war around. One of the SRA scientists, Professor Dorat, developed the Vertical and Patulia for new type special force use. However, Operation Lilac failed and SRA changed their plan, which is to drop colonies onto Earth to win the war and force the UNE to surrender. Meanwhile, UNE predicted that SRA will eventually use mass destructive weapons to end the war, which led to the development of UNE's secret weapon, the Gundams. Gundam X is one of the 3 secret MS developed by UNE at the near end of the 7th Space War. The purpose of Gundam X is the ultimate solution to SRA's colony drop plan. Gundam X is the top tier MS during that era, having considered that the war might be extended and that the battlefield wouldn't be just in space. Gundam X is developed to adapt different environments easily. In other words, Gundam X is able to operate in space, Earth, or underwater without swapping equipment. Since it's a top tier MS, in order to prevent any possibilities of Gundam X being stolen, it must be activated with the G controller, a separate controller unit that acts like the starter key. However, the G controller is not exactly a foolproof means of security, since an engineer who knows the plug can activate the Gundam X with a similar controller. Furthermore, any person can just hotwire and bypass the security system. As a top tier MS, Gundam X successfully met its expectations. First of all, the armor is made with lunar titanium, which is very strong in terms of defense, resulting the armor can't be easily scratched. Secondly, the output of Gundam X is much higher than normal MS, which is why it can punch and knock down Adoltrus. As previously mentioned, Gundam X is the ultimate solution to change the war, so of course is equipped with the ultimate weapon, the satellite cannon. Satellite cannon is a very dangerous weapon. One shot from it can easily destroy a space colony. The mechanism of satellite cannon is to receive the microwave beam from the lunar base through the chest piece. The 4 reflector units on the backpack will open and form a X shape. The microwave beam will charge into the reflector units through the honeycomb structure. Then the microwave beam will convert into energy and power the satellite cannon. Additionally, the excess energy can be used for a long-distance jump. Also, Gundam X is capable of flying independently through the X-shaped backpack facing down, becoming its hovering mode. Although satellite cannon is a very powerful weapon, but the activation progress required new types. Once the activation is done, the system will register the Gundam, which means satellite cannon doesn't require a new type to shoot again. The activation is only achievable by new type brain waves. That's why when the Gundam X was first piloted by Garrod Ran, he needs Tiva's assistance to activate the satellite cannon. One of the biggest weaknesses about satellite system is the location and time. For example, if Gundam X is not facing the moon, the beam can't reach Gundam X and thus not able to charge. On Earth, if the moon is not out, the satellite system is basically useless during daytime. To solve those weaknesses, Gundam X is equipped with different weapons to make sure it won't become handicapped without the moon. For CQC defense, there are 4 breast falcons to defend and restrict enemy movements. Additionally, an optional shoulder Vulcan can be equipped through the upper left corner of the backpack. This weapon is an Earth-based weapon with a rotation mount that can fire towards different angles. As for handheld weapons, there's a shield buster rifle. This rifle can shoot beams or quickly transform into a shield for defense. The material on the shield is 3 times tougher than other materials, so it can withstand most of the firearms or melee attacks. Another fun fact is that this rifle is rechargeable by plugging into the bottom right side of the backpack, and it can recharge with the stored microwave energy. Lastly, for CQC, there's a large beam sword at the end of the satellite cannon. It uses microwave energy to charge its power, which results in a higher output in general. Gundam X is a new type use Gundam, as well as possessing a trump card. Other than using mass destructive weapon to change the war, the flash system is one of the key features on the Gundam X. Flash system is developed by UNE and SRA independently. Both sides use this tech in a different way. SRA used Flash system to develop bit weapons for their MS. For instance, the Vertigo and Fibro. Meanwhile, UNE used Flash system to develop a much stronger weapon, Bit Mobile Suit. GX Bit is the specific bit MS used by Gundam X. The theory of Flash system is to use true new type's brainwave and powers to connect to each bit MS. Each bit MS will be controlled by the main Gundam's pilot. The pilot will use his or her brainwave to command and make bit MS attack. Before the pilot was finalized, the candidates must go through a test of new type abilities. The ones that can activate the bit MS, they will stay and considered as true new types. The ones that fail to activate, they will be called Category F, which means failure. Before the bit MS is in use, it must register through the Lunar Solar Power Station. After the whole progress is finished, the bit MS can be activated whenever the main Gundam is deployed. The effective range of Flash system is not sure, but it might be somewhere between 380,000 kilometers in space or on Earth. As for the GX bits, it's equipped with the same shield buster rifle and satellite cannon, which means all 12 GX bits will attack with the same weapon. It's not sure how many Gundam X was made in total, but there are 2 units confirmed in the anime. Unit 1 was secretly sent to Earth during the 7th Space War and found by Garrod Ran at AW0015. Unit 2 was piloted by a 15-year-old Jamil Need during the 7th Space War. It was first appeared with G Falcon Delta. They took down an SRA fleet and successfully stopped Operation Lilac. Partulia malfunctioned and crash-landed on Earth, while Dr. Doret escaped and landed on Earth with Partulia. Suddenly, a vertical shot at Gundam X. The SRA ace pilot, Lancebro Darwell, engaged with Jamil. The 2 new type pilots fought back and forward, with no one gaining an upper hand. Then, Lancebro deployed the bits on Vertigo and Jamil was about to be killed. Right before Vertigo's final blow, Jamil's teammate, Kina, used his G Falcon Delta and took the bits attack, resulted in his instant death. Jamil watched his teammate died. His anger made him stronger and chopped off Vertigo's arms. Lancebro retreated. SRA decided to use Conley drop to force UNE to surrender, and Gundam X was sent to the next mission. At the critical moment of the 7th Space War, the Conleys were ready to be dropped. Jamil's Gundam X, along with the 12 GX bits, were all ready to shoot down the Conley. However, the satellite cannon missed and provoked SRA to push the Conley drop earlier. The operation was successful and SRA wiped out 99% of the human population, with an additional nuclear winter that lasted 7 years. At the end of the 7th Space War, Lancebro and Jamil was fighting for their last match. Gundam X and Fibro shot down each other. Both new type pilots saw the beyond the current time. Lancebro escaped with the detachable head and a severely damaged Gundam X successfully re-entry into the atmosphere using Kina's repaired G Falcon Delta. The severely damaged Gundam X was retrieved by UNE. Both Lancebro and Jamil lost their new type powers completely. Jamil decided to save new types for the rest of his life and avoid them to be used as tools. AW0015, like Anto, requested Garrod Ran to bring Tiva Ardilu back. Garrod stole the G controller and brought Tiva off the Freedan. While meeting with Like, Garrod noticed that Tiva is afraid of Like, so he took Tiva away and she guided him to find the Gundam X. After the activation, Garrod took down the Free Dortress, and the Freedan's crew came and got ready to fight. Leopard and Airmaster easily pressured Garrod and the GX, but Garrod used Tiva as the hostage and successfully got away. Later, the runaway couple was targeted by Vulture. Tiva activated the satellite system and Garrod swept the entire Vulture squad. Although the couple survived, the emotions from the death shocked Tiva and caused her to go comatose. Jamil captured GX and the couple was brought back to Freedan. Meanwhile, Oluba Frost purposely got attacked and the Freedan crew saved him, but getting saved by Freedan is part of the plan. Oluba brought Tiva back to Alternative Company. GX was piloted by Garrod again. He faced against both Vazagor and Ashtalon. Luckily, Wits and Loyabi came back to help, so Garrod can focus on shooting the lab. With the help from Tiva and Jamil, GX successfully shut down Grandini and the lab, thus saving Tiva. When Garrod returned to Freedan, he made a lot of mistakes and decided to compensate the crew. He didn't know the place that he went to is a nuclear factory that will easily blow up. Jamil arrived right on time and both of them need to escape ASAP. Although Garrod used the satellite cannon to push both machines away from the explosion, Jamil's MS was hit and he was heavily injured. A guilty Garrod ran away again and decided to sell the GX. Meanwhile, Freedan was under attack by a Vulture group led by Sakut Datanel. Garrod came back and saved the day. Under Jamil's plan, GX used the microwave beam and boiled the link, causing Sakut's ship to explode and the Freedan crew escaped safely. Next, the crew went to Fort 7 to find the new type in the town. A Vertigo came and easily wrecked GX with its bits. hits. The new type on Vertical, Kalu's Nautilus, used Garrod's life as leverage and forced Tifa to go to Fort 7 with him. To save Garrod's life, Tifa willingly to let Vertical to capture her. After GX was severely damaged by Vertical, Kid Salzamo proposed an upgrade plan for GX. Although GX is very powerful when it comes to sweeping an entire MS squad or against a large target, but the weaknesses are very easy to be exposed. Then the enemy can just use those weaknesses to defeat GX. On Earth, satellite cannon's shooting time is limited because it can only shoot at night when the moon is up, even if you can fire it, considering that the cannon's output cannot be adjusted. It will cause huge collateral damage when it fires near cities or populated areas, which means firing in different battlefields have different consideration. In order to make sure GX can be used in any environment without considering different factors, Gundam X Divider was designed by Kid. From top to bottom, Divider's weapons and equipment were mostly redesigned and brand new. The only weapon remained from GX is the Breast Falcons. As for the special systems on the GX, satellite system is there, but it doesn't do anything. Meanwhile, Flash system is still kept and usable as well. Since the satellite cannon is already damaged beyond repair, Kid designed a new backpack for the X Divider. The new backpack has 2 large beam sword, which is the same one on GX, but now with an extra sword for spare use. The thrusters are normally folded on the backpack. When deployed, the thrusters can make the X Divider fly, but not for a long time. There are 2 extra energy tanks at the bottom of the backpack. Each one can last for 12 hours, which greatly extended the operation time, but no sources provided the detail about whether it will be ejected or not after the tanks are emptied. There are 2 main handheld range weapons. The first one is B machine gun. This machine gun is developed from a pair of unknown UNE's battleship-grade beam cannons. The 2 barrels can fire 3 different types of shots: rapid fire, 1-by-1 shot from each barrel, or a max output shot. Since it's modified from a battleship-grade cannon, the output is much higher than a standard rifle shot. While underwater, the machine gun cannot be used, so Divider can use Hyper Bazooka. It's not specified about which ammo it uses, but it can be fit with various types of ammo. While Divider can jump for a good distance or fly for a short time, it still lacks the ability to adapt any environment. Due to the satellite cannon being destroyed, a new powerful weapon replaces its position, which is the Divider. It's built with 3 different salvaged parts: an expendable shield frame, MA-grade thrusters, and an OSRA combat vehicle use anti-MS multi-barreled beam cannons, aka Harmonica. Harmonica is formed by 6 sets of triple beam cannons. It has 2 firing modes. All of them can be fired separately to form a strong barrage, shooting down multiple targets at the same time. Also, Harmonica's power is not as strong as satellite cannon, but it can shoot through a MS easily. Compare Harmonica with satellite cannon. The former can be used without limitation while maintaining the power. If Divider needed to cut through an object or target, Harmonica will combine the energy together, then shoot a curved blade beam to cut the target. When Harmonica is not in use, the expendable shield frame will cover the beam cannons. The shield frame has an anti-beam coating applied on them, so the defense strength is still as good as the shield buster rifle, but the Divider is longer, which means it covers more area. As I just explained, the X Divider cannot fly for a long time, so the shield has the third function to help it fly around. There are MA-grade thrusters installed in the shield. Divider can hold the shield and start snow skating or water skiing. Once the whole shield is folded, Divider can put it on its backpack, and now it's in hovering mode, which allows the X Divider to gain extra mobility as long as able to perform long-time flights in the atmosphere. After the X Divider was completed with the natural piloting talent, Garrod performed very well with the Divider. First battle of Divider was against the Frost Brothers again. Garrod used the Harmonica and severely damaged Fazagor. After the battle, Garrod sneaked into Fort 7 and rescued Tifa. When they were running away from the town, Vertical came out and went after them. Jamil piloted the Divider and engaged with Vertical. Without using his new type powers, Jamil destroyed all the bits and showed Garrod that he doesn't need special powers to defeat a new type. Soon, Kalus retreated due to the side effects as an artificial new type, and went back to Fort 7 with his unbearable pain. Later, Kalus piloted the Vertical and went to free them by himself, wanting to fight Garrod again. At first, Garrod still can't beat the bits, but soon he started to shoot down the bits one by one. Vertigo rushed towards Divider and both MS went into a saber fight. Vertigo eventually lost to Divider. A heavily injured Kalius was brought back to Freedan and treated. He left Freedan by himself out of guilt and desperation. Tifa and Garrod found him at the middle of the snowland and decided to bring him back to Freedan and accept him as a comrade. Meanwhile, NNEL came out of nowhere and captured Kalius back to Fort 7. Kalius was put in the capsule and became the core unit of Patulia. Under the program's manipulation, Kalius's consciousness was overwritten by the Patulia's program, with Vertigo, Airmaster, and Leopard covering the X-Divider. Garrod used the curved blade beam and cut the Patulia, grabbing Kalius out. Meanwhile, Professor Dorat shot himself in the Patulia and died along with it. After the tough battle, the crew headed towards the Pacific Ocean, and Ox Captain Dozabel attacked the Freedan and planned to capture the Gundams. Meanwhile, D-Navi's White Dolphin refused to help the Gundams at first. After Tifa communicated with the D-Navi through new type powers, the mysterious White Dolphin uses artificial power, destroying each D-Navi device by itself. Then, the Gundams were no longer under attack. They fought back and the Orcs were all destroyed. The next destination was the Sea of Lorelei. Olubar Frost teamed up with Marcus Sky and salvaged an old UNE container called L System. Meanwhile, Freedan arrived at the Sea of Lorelei and ran into Olubar's trap. The whole battle was a disadvantage for Freedan, and Olubar caught the Divider with Ashtalon. Suddenly, the spirit of Lucili Lilian connected to Tifa, allowing the L System to activate and deactivate every MS and battleship, saving Freedan from an unavoidable torpedo attack. Later, Lucilu borrowed Tifa's body again to communicate with Jamil. Revealing that the L System and Bit MS still exist, the Freedan crew decided to free Lucilu. Knowing the fact that Jamil wanted to rescue Lucilu himself, Garroda let him pilot the Divider for this rescue mission. Soon, the Free Gundams were surrounded by a huge MS group from Dorothea. Since the Free Gundams were outnumbered, the spirit of Lucilu connected to Jamil and asked him to use Flash System. The sync was successful and the GX bits were sweeping the MS groups. After the battle, Jamil finally got over his mental scars and decided to shoot down every GX bit, ending his regrets with the Divider. As the constant failure of capturing the Freedan and new type annoys aims at Catro, he assigned Katok Alzamil to capture Freedan. He completed the job successfully, forcing Freedan to surrender at the Sonda Apta Island. While being captured by the new UNE, the Freedan crew witnessed a Gundam that was made with the Ghost from 15 years ago. Since the early days of the AW era, the UNE was disbanded, but they eventually have returned as the new UNE. The times and technologies were already rapidly improving. New UNE urgently needed a new Gundam to establish the government's power. After Jamil's GX was retrieved, old UNE's officers stored the GX in the Sonda Apta facility. Under the leadership of Colonel Aimzat, the development of Gundam XX began, considering DX will be used to establish new UNE's power. So instead of modifying directly from the blueprints of GX, the developers decided to take a full overhaul. However, the meaning of overhaul only focused on the armor and weapons. The internal frame had little changes to the point that the cockpit is a copy and paste from GX. Of course, excluding the cockpit, it does have changes modified from the GX frame. Due to the fact that the cockpit is 100% the same as the GX, it requires a Gundam key to activate as well. DX does have a new controller, but the functions are the same and it only looks fancier. Also, because the cockpit design didn't change, the security system can still be bypassed, hotwired, or completely ignored using the original GX controller to activate DX.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
DX is developed from the data directly from Jamil's GX. It's a full copy and paste of data, so the flash system is installed too. However, the GX bits were previously all shut down by Jamil, so the flash system on DX is useless. Let's check out the notable changes. It's mainly on the weapons. DX is equipped with Head Falcon and 4 breast launchers. Their purpose is to restrict enemy movements or self-defense. Both armaments can shoot together to create an ammo barrage, which is helpful for self-defense. For range battles, DX has a custom Buster rifle. This rifle is simplified while maintaining the output. The internal parts are simplified too to make sure the maintenance is easier. However, unlike the GX Shield Buster rifle, in order to make sure Buster rifle to shoot faster and be more easily wielded, the shield is removed from the design, and due to that, DX will hold or mount the defense plate on the forearm to block attacks. The plate itself is very lightweight and easy to wield, but that doesn't change its efficiency, as it's still made with Lunar titanium, which ensures high durability. Before moving on to the next weapon, let me tell you a fun fact. DX is not only a new type use Gundam, it's also a merely specialized Gundam. Yes, you didn't hear me wrong, because considering that the moon is not always up, so when New UNE was developing DX, they make sure the melee and raw output is strong enough to overpower most of the MS. That's why when Garrod first piloted it, he took out a couple Valiant with just punches. For the melee weapons, DX have a lot of choices. There are 2 Hyper Beam swords stored on the side skirts. They are the improved version from GX version. Not only the output and cutting power is increased, the length of the blade can be adjusted to. The following weapons are not shown in the anime or only in Freedan 2's hangar. For unknown reason, DX has a custom twin beam sword and can be equipped with a beam javelin, a pole weapon that emits a short blade. While DX can just stab the target with it, the javelin is mostly for throwing attacks. The G-Hammer is a new weapon for DX to wield too. It's a spike ball attached to a wire because it depends on acceleration to create impact power. There are verniers built into the spike ball. This weapon is very versatile as it can be used in any environment. The spike ball is retractable so it can be launched again and again. The last no-show weapon is rocket launcher gun. It will shoot a large warhead with high explosive power, but the ammo is limited, including the 2 spare warheads that can be carried by DX. It only has 3 shots. From twin beam sword all the way to rocket launcher gun, they will be stored on the back skirt, but none of them was actually shown in the anime. The last weapon is the most important weapon, the twin satellite cannon. It's not just adding 1 more barrel, it's a complete firepower upgrade. First, the satellite system is now upgraded to Mark II version. The reflector units is increased from 4 to 6, which means when the microwave is charging the cannon, it will store more energy. Next, once the energy charging is completed, DX is now able to shoot a satellite cannon shot that is 2 to 3 times stronger than the one on GX. Since the storage is enhanced, which means instead of draining the entire charge in one shot like GX, DX can fire 3 maximum output shots with just 1 microwave charge. Also, the rework on the reflector units is very effective. The pilot can manually adjust the output, even if the output is changed to tap shot. Is still powerful enough to melt an island. In terms of setting up the satellite cannon, since the registration ID is another copy and paste from Jamil's GX, DX authorization is the same old one on the GX, which is why it doesn't need another new type to activate again. The satellite cannon is a very powerful weapon, but back when GX needed to get the cannon ready, it must hold the cannon and get into shooting position. While waiting the charging, GX cannot defend itself. The enemy can use this as advantage and backstab GX. DX is no longer holding the cannon to wait for charging. The sensor unit will rotate from the shoulder and lock the cannon in position. This change left the hands are now free, which means if any enemy tries to ambush DX, DX can defend itself instantly. As to how can DX shoot 3 shots in a row, the new additional energy radiation placed on the forearms and legs will work along with the new cooling system to quickly drop the temperature down, allowing DX to shoot again in a short time. After Kadok sacrificed his life to entrust the future to Garrod and Tiva, Garrod stole the DX and performed very well for the rest of the war. In the first battle, DX easily took out multiple Valiant, then proceeded to wipe out Sonda Epta Island with the twin satellite cannon. The Freedan crew then proceeded to land in a country called People's Republic of Estat. The Estats military leaders met with Jamil, asking his crew to form an alliance with them to fight against the New UNE. Jamil declined the offer, but after witnessing and surviving a large carpet bombing raid from New UNE, Jamil decided to join the alliance and sent the Gundams to defend the civilian areas. Meanwhile, Garrod was assigned to destroy the nearest New UNE space to prevent further reinforcement. The Frost brothers showed up again and grabbed DX. However, the output of DX is ridiculously high and just ripped through the Ashton's claws and kicked down the Vazagol. Then, with the brothers were down, DX successfully destroyed the base. As the brothers lost to Garrod again, they gathered 4 ace pilots and decided who will take down the DX in a card game. The ace pilot from African Battle Line, Dimar Griff, was chosen to be the first person to engage with DX with New UNE's prototype MS, Koro. While DX and Airmaster Burst were defending the capital of United Kingdom of Northern Bell, Vazagol appeared on the battlefield and lured DX away from the main battle, leaving Garrod alone with Demar. Koro performed extremely well under the excellent piloting skills of Demar. DX took several hits, losing its left arm, while the backpack, side torso, and satellite system were all damaged. Although DX was in a disadvantage in the whole battle, Garrod sacrificed DX rival and created a short window to shoot down Demar. He was focus fired to death by DX Half Falcon and Breast Launcher. Even though one of the 4 ace pilots were defeated, Garrod and Witz ultimately failed to prevent Northern Bell from falling into New UNE's hands. As the fall of Northern Bell was revealed, New UNE offered a peace treaty to Esther and Democratic Republic of Gesta, who took the offer and sided with New UNE. Both of them were ready to conquer Esther by force, while the royals of Esther decided to surrender. General Lee Jackson decided to mount the last stand against the New UNE army. After knowing this event, Garrod and Witz headed out, attempted to stop this suicide attack. Halfway into their rescue mission, the second ace pilot, Duet Landgraf, piloted the Britova and pressured both Airmaster Burst and DX. The battle didn't last long as both of them figured out the secret weapon of Britova is Wire Cutter. With Airmaster playing as the bait, DX successfully destroyed the wire and Witz shot towards the Britova's cockpit, ending the second pursuit from the Frost brothers. By the time Witz and Garrod arrived at the front line, it was too late and the general has already sacrificed heroically, ending with Estet decided to agree on an unconditional surrender, while Friedan left Estet to prevent further political disadvantage placed on the country. The third ace pilot was sent by the Frost brothers. Again, Mira Drade piloted the Gable and gave a big-time trouble to the Friedan crew, but in a brief summary, Loyabe used all of the Leopard weapons and damaged the beam deflectors on Gable, ending with Gable being easily shot down by DX, Airmaster, and Divider after the deflectors were down. Prince Willis chose to surrender instead of being a runaway leader. New UNE has officially conquered the South Asia as Estet was surrendered at last. After Esther's surrender, the Friedan crew has decided to move towards the New Type lab at North Asia, attempting to stop New Types being further leveraged. The last ace from the Frost brothers has appeared, attempting to shut down Friedan and the Gundams all at once. Out of wanting to accelerate the New Type power development, the Frost brothers deliberately left the battlefield, leaving Abel Bauer alone with the Friedan and the Gundams. Just like what they expected and hoped for, Abel successfully activated a flash system out of the strong will to survive. As the tables have turned, Rest Fade and his Bit MS pinned down Airmaster, DX, and Divider. Garrod decided to use himself as the bait to find out the real Rest Fade, but they failed to locate the true one. In the end, with Tifa's guide, Garrod spotted the real Rest Fade and disabled it, and the 4 ace pilots were all ultimately defeated. Jamil made it to the New Type lab while he was talking to Karon Rattle. The Frost brothers led a group of New UNE force to attack Friedan, as the brothers explained their true goal and destroyed the New Type lab. Nicola Favres escorted Jamil back to the Friedan. Of course, Jamil joined the battle and pushing the New UNE force back. However, Nicola's true goal was to kidnap Tifa and bring her to space, so the SRA can use Tifa as propaganda and use her power to benefit their side. After knowing the SRA spies captured a new UNE base for Space Force transfer, Jamil made a fake deal and successfully put Garrod and the DX into the shuttle, sending Garrod to rescue Tifa. Jamil even used Friedan to crash into the Bandal to stop New UNE's attack. Although it was successful, but it ended up with every crew member and pilots being captured by New UNE. After the shuttle has entered into space, Garrod happened to know that Tifa was kept in Cloud 9. He escaped and headed out with the DX. However, he has zero space combat experience. SRA easily used this as leverage and disabled the DX. Right before the last hit, a G-Falcon saved Garrod and took the DX back to the Satilicon space. Upon locating Satilicon space, SRA decided to completely eliminate the anti-SRA organization. As everyone can guess, Satilicon was outnumbered and outpowered. The battle was soon ended with SRA used Photon torpedoes to completely bomb away the Satilicon base, turning it into light then ashes. As Satilicon is off the map forever, Garrod and Palacis stopped at an unmanned space station and planned the attack and rescue. The plan is Pala and the G-Falcon will be going to the front of Cloud 9 and Colony Laser, while Garrod will charge the satellite cannon and aim using G-Falcon's laser location. The plan worked like a charm and Garrod performed arguably the longest snipe in Gundam history, precisely aiming at the Colony Laser 3 times. And he aimed it from 380,000 kilometers away. Anyway, this operation was successful. The Colony Laser is destroyed, which means SRA can't attack Earth. Tifa is back with Garrod and Pala has finally avenged for the people of Satilicon. After the rescue mission is done, the Frost Brothers again stopped Garrod just before they were heading back to Earth. The new UNE force just outnumbered G-Falcon and DX. Pala was caught by all but Frost, so Garrod had to give up fighting back. All three of them were captured by the Frost Brothers and brought back to Earth. Meanwhile, Jamil and the crew was transferred to Siberia, ready to be executed. But Kalius came in the vertical and saved the members. He also brought Divider, Airmaster, and Leopard back. With the four pilots cooperated together, the new UNE force was wiped out very quickly. On the other hand, Garrod, Tiva, and Pala escaped from the new UNE's headquarters. They met with Jamil, Witz, Loyabi, and Kalius. Upon knowing that the new UNE and SRA is ready for another war, the Freedom crew decided to stop it. Fast forward into space, Garrod was once again matched with the Frost Brothers. They revealed their true goal of this war. First goal is eliminating the humans who worship or hate new types, as they still believed in the name of new types. The second reason is that they were abandoned by military as they failed to activate Flash system, so they were labeled as Category F and never got the true attention. Anyway, DX used its high output as advantage. Even without the rifle and shield, DX still able to 1v2 with just punches, punching both Vazagal Chestbreaker and Astronaut Hermit Crab easily, turning the 1v2 into Mobile Suit Gundam G Fighter. Dom summoned everyone into the satellite facility. Even after learning the truth of new type, both factions still refused to give up their beliefs, which ended up the Frost Brothers killing both factions' leader. At the end of the war, the Frost Brothers wanted to recreate the nightmare from 15 years ago, but only this time DX got into their way. Both satellite cannon was clashed together. The satellite station was destroyed. Vazagal, Ashtalon, and DX were all severely damaged, subsequently abandoned near the moon in the end. After the 8th Space War, Garrod and Tiva lived together. They continued to explore the world and now living in Phoenix City. The couple temporarily took care of a kid from the town and often got mistaken as the kid is theirs. One day, Kalius visited the couple and introduced Garrod to the Vulture Rehabilitation Project. To summarize it, this project is allowing vultures to keep their MS and weapons, as long as they agree to work with the government and protect the autonomous areas. However, not every vulture member is containable. If they disobey, they will be executed immediately. But again, reasons for political disobedience are very vague, so this project brings a lot of uncertainty and doubts too. Back to the main story. To show their sincerity, the representative from Ministry of Defense offered a personal MS to Garrod, which is the Gundam X Unit 3. Unit 3 is the exact same MS as the original Gundam X. It's built with the frame of Unit 1, which is the X Divider. The parts and electronics were taken from different labs across the world and hastily built together. Although it is hastily assembled, the overall performance is 30% better than the original Gundam X. Every weapon is exactly the same as the original Gundam X, except satellite cannon is disabled as the satellite station was destroyed in the 8th Space War. Other than that, the noticeable difference is only the color scheme. Upon hearing the offer, Garrod rejected it as he just wants a quiet life with Tiva. A couple days later, the vaccine for curing the Conley flu has finally arrived in Phoenix. However, some ARC members plan to steal the vaccines and resell it in a high price for profits. Witnessing the disease spreading out faster and faster, Garrod couldn't calm down and hijacked the Unit 3 to stop the ARC. With Kalius came to support Garrod, the ARC was soon swept away by GX Unit 3 and Gundam Nouvelle. After the battle, Garrod learned the truth that the project was used by the Frost Brothers too, as they secretly used this project to recruit their own army and planning to start another war. Knowing that the Frost Brothers are back at waging war again, Garrod has no choice but to team up with Kalius to stop them, becoming an MS pilot again to keep world peace. In AW-24, a group of vultures discovered a container in the Sea of Lorelei. A black Gundam X was kept in there. This container was resting at the bottom of the sea since the 7th Space War. The pilot was surprisingly alive as the cockpit was maintained as cold sleep. The mysterious pilot is Kai, a battle-used new type that has very serious mental stability problems. His Gundam X has a black color base, with everything maintained the same as the original Gundam X. As Storm and the satellite station was secretly repaired by an unknown faction, Kai's Gundam X was able to use satellite cannon. After Kai was sent to the new type lab to cure his instability, Mana took his Gundam X and gave it a repaint. Rick Alley became the next pilot, along with the new weapons to make the Gundam X become more adaptable useful for Rick. There are some weapon changes. The satellite cannon became optional, as Rick is not a new type, so he cannot activate the satellite system by his own. The Shield Buster Rifle was removed. It was replaced by Holster Shield and Buster Stealth Rifle. Holster Shield maintained the same durability and strength from the materials of Shield Buster Rifle, just that now it's semi-fixed on the left forearm. Buster Stealth Rifle is the slight upgrade version of Shield Buster Rifle. The output is stronger and no longer has a shield on it. Also, the back of the rifle has an extra large beam sword. The rifle will store in the holster shield when not in use. In the final medal, the Buster Stealth Rifle is upgraded to Buster Stealth Rifle Kai. The only difference is that it has an extra barrel that fires rapid shots. The holster shield is upgraded to Jinan Shield, which is holster shield with a claw arm. Thanks for watching this video. It's been a long time and I'm sorry for the wait. I hope the long stories won't bore you too much. I try my best to summarize it. If you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe and hit the bell next to it. We are so close to 20k and let's make it happen. Hopefully I can get the writing done soon enough for the next episode, as I don't want everyone to wait another 4 months for it. Make sure to follow my Instagram at Sevenphonics and join my Discord through the link in the description. Feel free to make a donation and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.